Welcome, curious minds, to Artificially Literate, your space where books, films, and, well, big ideas meet deep thought and boundless curiosity. Every deep dive we embark on explores, a piece of literature, maybe a compelling video, or a significant cultural moment. We try to break down its philosophical and literal meaning. So, whether you're a lover of stories, a seeker of profound meaning, or maybe just someone who enjoys a thoughtful takeaway that helps you look at the world a little differently, you're definitely in the right place. And what a journey we have for you today. We are plunging into E.M. Forster's timeless classic, A Room with a View. Now, on the surface, you might think, oh, okay, charming Edwardian romance. But trust me, as we unpack it, you'll discover layers of really profound insight into societal convention, personal freedom, and that incredibly elusive thing we call truth. Forster himself gave us this beautiful line that I think really captures the essence. Passion does not blind. No. Passion is sanity, and the woman you love, she is the only person you will ever really understand. That quote just perfectly sets the stage for a story that asks us to question pretty much everything we think we know about love, understanding, and maybe even sanity itself.
Indeed, it's a work that consistently challenges us, the readers, to look beyond the superficial, much like its characters struggle to see past their own, deeply ingrained preconceived notions. This deep dive today will explore precisely how passion, sanity, and understanding truly unfold for our protagonist, Lucy Honeychurch, as she navigates a world trying really hard to keep her in its neatly defined boxes.
Okay, so let's unpack this fascinating journey into self-discovery and really a quite biting societal critique. Beginning, as the novel does, in the sun-drenched, utterly captivating city of Florence. So the story opens, like we said, in Florence, a city that practically hums with beauty, history, and this kind of vibrant, almost chaotic unconventionality. It immediately sets itself apart from the rigid, polite, and let's be honest, rather stifling English society that Lucy Honeychurch and her older, very proper cousin, Miss Charlotte Bartlett, are so used to. Florence isn't just a picturesque backdrop here, is it?
Oh, not at all.
It's almost like a character in its own right, a force that begins to subtly, then much more overtly, disrupt Lucy's carefully ordered world.
You've hit on a key point there. What's fascinating about Florence is how it acts as far more than just scenery. It's an active catalyst for change. It represents an entirely different way of life, one of English convention.
Watertight compartments. I love that phrase.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
It refers to the rigid, separate boxes that Edwardian society expects individuals to fit into. Social class, gender roles, acceptable emotions, even how you experience art or faith. Everything is compartmentalized, to maintain order and decorum. Florence, just by its very nature, starts to leak into those compartments, highlighting the novel's core tension between these rigid social structures and the liberating, sometimes messy, power of authentic experience.
Yeah.
The very air of Florence seems to encourage shedding those polite fictions.
And right from the very start, we see this clash play out, but in a seemingly trivial way, right?
Exactly.
The immediate conflict over their pension rooms, whether they have a view or not, becomes this incredible microcosm of the entire story. It foreshadows the much larger battles for perspective, for truth, and genuine experience that Lucy will face.
Precisely. This seemingly trivial argument over hotel rooms, it isn't just polite wrangling. It's the very first direct confrontation between the Emersons' blunt, almost childlike honesty and directness, and Miss Bartlett's ingrained sense of propriety and self-sacrifice. Mr. Emerson's statement, women like looking at a view, men don't. It's not just rude by Edwardian standards, it's a radical disruption of polite English discourse.
Totally radical.
He just states what he perceives as a fact, an unvarnished observation, even if it's an uncomfortable one. And it's this immediate, unfiltered directness that Miss Bartlett finds so gross and utterly impossible to snub because it just doesn't fit into the script of social pleasantries she's used to.
Right. There's no protocol for that kind of honesty.
None. He offers his rooms, not as some subtle gesture requiring future obligation, but as a simple, logical exchange based on who would genuinely value the view more. This kind of raw honesty is practically unheard of in Lucy's world.
And it's right here, in this very first interaction, that Lucy, our protagonist, has what the narrator calls an odd feeling. That the contest widens and deepens till it dealt not with rooms and views, but with, well, something quite different, whose existence she had not realized before. It's her first almost subliminal hint that there's a deeper, more profound reality operating beneath the polished surface of polite society.
Hmm.
She's being introduced to the idea that there's more to life and to people than just adhering to social graces and expectations. She's feeling the walls of her watertight compartment start to creak.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really raises an important question for us, as listeners, to think about. In our own lives, how often do we mistake surface-level conflicts, like an argument over something small, for deeper clashes of values? And how often does that initial discomfort, that odd feeling, actually signal an opportunity for a profound realization about ourselves or the world around us?
That's a great point.
The Emersons, in this scene and throughout the novel, they embody this radical rejection of polite fictions. They value truth and directness above social grace. Their simple offer of the room, totally devoid of pretense, is a powerful early signal of their whole philosophy.
So as Lucy tries to make sense of this new Florentine world, she encounters other characters who present themselves as guides to the true Italy. There's Miss Eleanor Lavish, for example, who champions patient observation and claims to seek the true Italy beyond what you'd find in a Baedeker guidebook, which was like the popular kind of rigid travel guide back then.
Right, the standard tourist manual.
Yeah. She even celebrates discovering a dear, dirty back way and inhaling a true Florentine smell.
She seems so free, doesn't she, at
Yeah.
first glance?
She certainly seems free, and that's exactly the point. Miss Lavish's character is crucial here because she claims to embody freedom and authenticity, but it's often a very performative bohemianism. When she says, "Tut tut, Miss Lucy, I hope we shall soon emancipate you from Baedeker," it comes across as this intellectual snobbery that contrasts sharply with the genuine, unmediated experience that Lucy is about to stumble into, often accidentally.
Right.
Miss Lavish wants to escape convention, but she does it through intellectualization, through kind of romanticized dirtiness, rather than a true opening of the heart or an honest engagement with discomfort. She seeks an adventure, rather than just experiencing the raw beauty and difficulty of life as it unfolds.
Yeah, it's authenticity as a performance.
Exactly. It sets up a powerful critique of superficial attempts at being authentic. And then there's Mr. Beebe, the clergyman. He initially offers what seems like benevolent advice, suggesting charming drives to Fiesole and things like that. But even his insights are often veiled by his own subtle biases. We see his quiet dislike of the Emerson's unconventionality, despite his outward tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
He represents that kind of benevolent but ultimately restrictive guidance that Lucy is slowly learning to navigate beyond. He's a good man, fundamentally, but still very much a product of his time, and his own watertight compartments definitely influence his perspective.
And all these influences kind of converge, creating the perfect storm for Lucy's true awakening, which really kicks off in that pivotal scene at Santa Croce. Miss Lavish, in her typical pursuit of adventure and a local color story, abandons Lucy, accidentally taking her Baedeker with her, leaving Lucy disoriented and utterly alone in this foreign, bustling place.
Which, ironically, is the best thing that could have happened to her at that moment.
Absolutely. This seemingly irresponsible act creates the perfect conditions for Lucy's profound transformation.
You're right. Being jilted, as the book says, and without her guidebook, Lucy is forced to engage with Florence directly. Without the familiar filter of guidebooks or even the performative guidance of self-proclaimed bohemians like Miss Lavish.
She's deprived of her usual safety nets.
Yeah. And it's into this raw, unmediated experience that the shocking murder by the fountain occurs. It's just brutal. An unmediated encounter with life's rawness that completely shatters her sheltered, orderly world.
That's a dramatic intrusion.
A huge intrusion of sudden, violent reality into her neatly compartmentalized existence.
And amidst that chaos, the sheer shock of the moment, old Mr. Emerson delivers his truly radical critique of organized religion and traditional art. He looks at the beautiful frescoes in the church and declares, "Built by faith indeed." That simply means the workmen weren't paid properly.
Oof. Right in the church.
Right, questioning the very truth and piety behind the art itself. He also turns to the injured child and tells him, "Go out into the sunshine, little boy, and kiss your hand to the sun, for that is where you ought to be." He's fundamentally rejecting the sanctimonious reverence for institutions, whether religious or artistic, that he believes obscure direct human experience and genuine feeling. It's shocking, but profoundly honest.
This scene and Mr. Emerson's declarations, they raise a crucial question that still resonates today. What is the true purpose of art and religion? Are they for comfort and intellectual appreciation, for a beautiful escape, or are they meant for confronting uncomfortable truths and embracing raw humanity?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Emerson's intolerable bishop outburst, even within the sacred walls of Santa Croce, is a direct challenge to hypocrisy and a passionate plea for direct engagement with life.
And his son, George, powerfully supports this, showing his own deep yearning for authentic connection when he says, "I would rather go up to heaven by myself than be pushed by cherubs." It illustrates their shared desire for unmediated, intensely personal experience over guided, institutionalized belief or even abstract intellectualism.
It's a moment of profound revelation for Lucy, isn't it? She feels they had cast a spell over her. They were so serious and so strange that she could not remember how to behave.
Yeah, her programming just
Oh,
crashes.
totally. It's as if her previous social scripts have been wiped clean, and it also marks George Emerson's first truly direct address to her, questioning, why shouldn't you come by yourself? And validating her feeling about the lost Baedeker. It's worth minding, the loss of a Baedeker. That's worth minding.
And that's huge for her. He acknowledges her genuine distress rather than dismissing it as trivial. He forms this silent yet profound connection that cuts through all the social niceties. He sees her, truly sees her, perhaps for the first time.
Following the murder, George's intense, almost primal reaction, him throwing Lucy's bloodstained photographs into the Arno, is another pivotal moment that strips away pretense.
Yeah, that's a powerful image.
He states, "For something tremendous has happened. I must face it without getting muddled. It isn't exactly that a man has died." This shows his incredible capacity for profound emotional and philosophical insight. He understands the deeper existential implications of the event beyond just the literal death.
Right. He recognizes that the death is a symbol of a larger, unsettling reality, a crack in the facade of life.
And Lucy's initial reaction, in stark contrast, is to immediately revert to maintaining social decorum, asking George to not mention it to anyone, my foolish behavior.
Got to keep up appearances.
Exactly. Reflecting her ingrained English desire to avoid a scene or any kind of gossip that might upset her watertight compartments, she intellectually notes his lack of chivalry, but what truly discomforts her is his unsettling directness.
She's worried about appearances, about what others will think while he's grappling with existential truth. This perfectly illustrates the chasm between her conditioned responses and the raw honesty of the Emersons.
This contrast continues with the discovery of that enormous note of interrogation found in George's room at the pension.
Ah, yes. The question mark.
Miss Bartlett immediately interprets it as menacing, obnoxious, portentous with evil, reflecting her deep fear of the unknown and the unconventional.
She projects all her own anxieties and ingrained prejudices onto it, seeing a threat where none exists because anything outside her ordered world is perceived as dangerous.
But for us, the listeners, and certainly for Lucy as her understanding grows, this enormous note of interrogation symbolizes George's inherent questioning nature, his willingness to confront life's ambiguities, and his fundamental refusal to settle for easy answers or rigid social norms.
It represents intellectual curiosity, doesn't it? A profound philosophical openness to uncertainty and a challenge to assumptions, a visual representation of the everlasting why that Mr. Emerson later champions.
It's the opposite of a watertight compartment.
Yeah, it's a question mark that opens everything up.
So back at the pension, after the intensity of Santa Croce, Lucy seeks solace in playing Beethoven, specifically Opus 111. Mr. Beebe, observing her, notes an illogical element in her playing and hears the hammer strokes of victory. This isn't just a casual pastime for Lucy, it's a deep, almost visceral engagement with something beyond words.
Absolutely. This highlights music as a profound conduit for Lucy's suppressed passion and her burgeoning inner life. It's a place where she can express complex emotions and a sense of victory of what and over what. Mr. Beebe's astute theory about musicians being incredibly complex and puzzling even themselves, unable to articulate their deepest desires or motivations, perfectly describes Lucy's internal journey.
It really does.
Her music is, in many ways, a truer reflection of her soul than her polite conversation or her carefully curated social persona. It's where her authentic self begins to stir beyond the confines of Edwardian ladyhood. Mr. Beebe, for all his conventionality, recognizes that Lucy loves to play on the side of victory, even if that victory is deeply personal and unquantifiable by societal standards.
And this internal stirring, this sense of victory through music, seems to pull her towards a very specific kind of rebellion, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It leads to her nascent realization that most big things are unladylike. and a growing desire for something big and authentic, directly contrasting with her prior acceptance of conventional ideals. We see this manifested in her buying photos of Botticelli's Birth of Venus and other nudes, consciously embracing a kind of beauty that her cousin dismisses as a pity.
Which is such a great little detail.
It is. This is a quiet but significant act of defiance. A step towards embracing a larger, less constrained world, a clear shift from the guidebook-dictated tourism to more personal, unfiltered aesthetic appreciation. It's Lucy beginning to decide for herself what is beautiful and true.
And this internal shift is then externalized through old Mr. Emerson's powerful and very direct philosophical invitation. He explicitly urges Lucy to let yourself go. Pull out from the depths those thoughts that you do not understand and spread them out in the sunlight and know the meaning of them. He says, by understanding George, you may learn to understand yourself.
Which is just, wow, such a radical call for self-knowledge and direct, unmediated experience, urging her to confront the why of existence and find a yes.
He's not just observing her, he's actively intervening in her spiritual and emotional growth, pushing her towards authenticity.
But Lucy, still so steeped in polite society, she just isn't ready to hear this truth yet, is she?
Not even close.
She reacts by suggesting George needs employment, or maybe a hobby, to cure his melancholy, showing her inability at this stage to grasp the true depth of his philosophical struggle.
She's desperately trying to fit his profound existential angst into a manageable, conventional problem, something that can be fixed with a neat, societal solution.
It's almost comical in its misdirection.
It truly is. This interaction reveals the profound difficulty of understanding people who speak the truth when you're not prepared to hear it. It highlights the deeply human tendency to revert to familiar, comfortable explanations, even when faced with profoundly discomforting insights. And this brings us back to what Forster calls muddle. For Forster, a muddle isn't just confusion or simple misunderstanding. It's a deep-seated state of self-deception,
Right.
where you actively avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself, your desires, or the world. It's a kind of moral paralysis, often fueled by societal expectations or a fear of what others might think.
And Lucy's fear of being unfeeling or selfish prevents her from truly engaging with the depth of the Emerson's honesty.
Exactly. Her declaration, I think myself a very fortunate girl, I assure you, I'm thoroughly happy and having a splendid time, is a quintessential performance of polite society.
Totally performative.
A refusal to admit her budding discontent and a clear sign of her profound muddle. It's the lie she tells herself and others to avoid the uncomfortable truth.
Okay, so after those transformative, if bewildering experiences in Italy, Lucy returns to Windy Corner, her comfortable family home back in England. This return marks a distinct and powerful shift. From the raw, unmediated life of Florence back to the familiar, yet, let's face it, stifling embrace of Edwardian English society.
It's almost like the vivid, sun-drenched colors of Italy just fade into the muted, polite tones of an English drawing room. And Lucy's internal world feels that shift immediately.
Yeah, you feel the contrast.
The novel incredibly effectively portrays this. While Lucy has been internally expanded and subtly changed by her Florentine experiences, the kindly affluence and inexplosive religion of her home environment immediately began to reassert their hold.
Inexplosive religion, another brilliant Forster term.
Isn't it great? It means a religion that is safe, comfortable, never challenges the status quo, never asks too much of its adherents. She finds the local society narrow, as she reflects to herself. But it's a narrowness she has been conditioned to accept, even defend, for most of her life. This return home is where the true struggle for her authentic self really begins, as the external pressures of her upbringing clash head-on with her nascent self-knowledge gained abroad.
And central to this middle section is Lucy's engagement to Cecil Vyse.
Cecil.
Cecil. He's presented as intellectually superior, urbane, witty, undeniably well-read. However, his own Italian sojourn seems to have only heightened his irritation with what he perceives as provincialism, rather than fostering genuine tolerance or deep personal connection.
Right. He's a man of grand ideas and abstract concepts, but not necessarily of true feeling or empathy.
Not at all.
Cecil represents a very different, yet equally restrictive kind of confinement and intellectual cage. He desires to rescue Lucy, not by liberating her to be herself, but by refining her to fit his own broad intellectual and artistic ideals. He believes in democracy as a concept, for example, But in practice, he's a total snob who often manipulates people for his own amusement or to prove a point.
Like using the engagement to punish a snob, Sir Harry Otway?
Exactly. His love for Lucy isn't for who she truly is, but for an idealized version of her, a Leonardo masterpiece he wishes to cultivate and control. He famously believes a woman's power and charm reside in mystery, not in muscular rant, which is a perfect summary of his desire for a silent, passive, intellectual companion rather than a vibrant, independent woman.
And his intellectual snobbery extends to his surroundings, too. He critiques the Tottenham Court Road furniture of Windy Corner, a subtle jab at mass-produced, middle-class taste, wanting to make the drawing room more distinctive. This reveals his superficial appreciation for aesthetics over genuine warmth in life. He doesn't understand that the bone left on a chair or the simple Maples furniture combined to give the room the very life that he desired without realizing it.
He misses the soul of the home in his pursuit of intellectual refinement. He can't see the forest for the trees, basically.
Pretty much.
Then, the arrival of the Emersons in Summer Street, a nearby village renting Sissy Villa through Cecil's surprisingly manipulative machinations. That's a crucial turning point.
Yeah, Cecil thinks he's being clever.
Right. He sees it as a victory for the comic muse, a clever way to score off Sir Harry Otway and his snobbery about decayed gentlewomen. But for Lucy, it's a direct, jarring intrusion of her suppressed Italian experience, the raw, challenging honesty of the Emersons into her carefully constructed, polite English life. It forces her to confront everything she's been trying to deny or, compartmentalize.
And their philosophy is just perfectly captured by that inscription on the Emersons' wardrobe, isn't it? Mistrust all enterprises that require new clothes.
It's fantastic. Perfectly encapsulates their anti-materialistic, anti-establishment philosophy, directly contrasting with Cecil's preoccupation with refinement and external appearances.
And their reading list, Byron, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche philosophers who challenged conventional thought.
Yeah, it signals their intellectual depth, but also their unapologetic unconventionality and willingness to challenge every single norm. They're the absolute antithesis of the watertight compartments.
Yeah.
This highlights the novel's pervasive theme of fences, not just literal fences, but social, intellectual, and emotional barriers. Mr. Bede, for all his outward tolerance, notes that a parson fenceless would mean a parson defenseless,
Interesting.
hinting at the profound comfort people find in their own prescribed boundaries, even if those boundaries limit authentic experience. For him, a fenceless existence means vulnerability. The Emersons, as profoundly fenceless individuals, disrupt this comfort just by being themselves, challenging the carefully constructed decorum of Windy Corner with their very presence. They represent raw, untamed humanity.
And then comes that truly memorable and profoundly symbolic scene at the pond, what Mrs. Honeychurch calls the sacred lake, because it's so public.
Oh yes, the bathing scene.
Freddie, Lucy's brother, with just boyish spontaneity and complete disregard for propriety, invites George to bathe. It's a moment that literally strips away the layers of English decorum and societal expectations. It's almost hilariously abrupt how he just shatters the polite facade.
Absolutely. This scene is vital. The men's bathing is a pure, uninhibited moment of joy and natural freedom, a literal return to nature that old Mr. Emerson champions. They shed their clothes, representing the shedding of societal constraints, and engage in this primal play, forgetting Italy and botany and fate and just being.
Even Mr. Beebe joins in.
Right. Mr. Bede's surprising participation signals a rare moment of shedding his clerical reserve, embodying a simple, joyful connection to nature that transcends his usual role. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated life force that shocks Lucy into confronting her own inhibitions.
Lucy, however, reacts with intense embarrassment and horror. Her reaction, "Oh, look, don't look. Oh, poor Mr. Beebe. How unfortunate again." It reveals her deep-seated Victorian prudishness and discomfort with the raw, uncivilized display of emotion in the male form.
Mm-hmm.
This moment brings her face to face with the unladylike aspects of authentic life, powerfully confirming her earlier quiet realization that most big things are unladylike. Her conditioning is just screaming at her to recoil from this wild, beautiful display.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, painful for Lucy. Miss Lavish's newly published novel, Joseph Emery Prank.
Oh, the novel?
It's read aloud by Cecil in front of Lucy and her family. To Lucy's utter horror, she realizes the novel contains a thinly veiled, romanticized account of her intimate encounter, her kiss with George, in the violet field in Florence.
This truly is a devastating moment for Lucy.
Completely devastating.
It's a public exposure of her deepest, most private emotional awakening, a moment she herself barely understood or processed. Cecil, in his characteristic intellectual detachment, uses the novel to punish a snob, completely unaware of the profound personal violation he is inflicting on Lucy.
This moment powerfully emphasizes the novel's critique of intellectualism when it's divorced from empathy, showing how insensitivity, even unintended, can inflict deep, deep wounds. He's so caught up in his own cleverness, he fails to see the human being right in front of him.
And the novel's portrayal of the kiss, which was, for Lucy, a confusing but genuine moment of intense feeling as part of some sensational romantic plot with love, murder, abduction, revenge, it just trivializes her real, raw emotional experience.
Completely. It forces her to confront the hypocrisy of her own internal muddle and the lies she's told to maintain appearances. It's a harsh spotlight shining directly on her hidden feelings and suppressed desires, demanding she acknowledge them. It's a moment of absolute uncomfortable truth.
This external revelation, this public betrayal, forces Lucy to finally internalize the external conflict that's been building inside her. She immediately retreats into what the narrator calls her armor of falsehood,
Yeah, the walls go up.
denying any genuine feeling for George, convincing herself that he behaved abominably and she never encouraged him. This isn't just denial, it's the beginning of her profound, agonizing struggle with truth. A battle within herself as much as it is with external societal expectations. She's clinging to her muddle for dear life. You're listening to Artificially Literate. If you're enjoying this deep dive into A Room with a View, remember you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just follow us to make sure you don't miss our next thought-provoking deep dive into the world of books, films, and ideas.
Lucy's journey, fundamentally, is one of shedding these very watertight compartments. As Mr. Beebe, with surprising insight, reflects on her eventual breaking of societal bonds. She has learnt what it is to love, the greatest lesson, some people will tell you, that our earthly life provides. This lesson, however, comes with its own profound set of challenges, forcing her to confront painful truths about herself and those around her, including some she's tried desperately to avoid. As the novel states, "It is easy to face death and fate. It is on my muddles that I look back with horror."
Okay, so the climax of Lucy's internal struggle, this profound battle between societal expectation and her authentic self, it culminates in her breaking off her engagement to Cecil.
Finally.
Finally. This isn't merely a change of heart or some fleeting whim. It's a truly revolutionary act against the suffocating expectations and the masterful intellectualism that Cecil so perfectly embodies.
It's a definitive rejection of a life defined and sculpted by someone else's terms, a desperate gasp for her own breath.
Lucy's reasoning for this breakup is so insightful, and it really resonates far beyond the Edwardian era, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She tells Cecil he wouldn't let me go my own way. He would improve me in places where I can't be improved. Cecil won't let a woman decide for herself. In fact, he daren't. This isn't just a critique of Cecil. It's a powerful indictment of a patriarchal mindset, prevalent not only back then, but subtly present even in many modern relationships.
Totally.
Where one partner attempts to define, control, or improve the other, rather than accepting them wholly, with all their imperfections and independent spirit. It's a statement about intellectual control masquerading as love and true partnership.
And in a surprising moment of grace, this difficult decision actually causes Cecil to see Lucy, and maybe for the very first time since their engagement, not as his Leonardo ideal, a passive work of art to be admired and sculpted,
Right.
but as a living woman with mysteries and forces of her own, with qualities that even eluded art.
It reveals his own painful but real growth. He's forced to acknowledge her individuality, breaking free, even if just for a moment, from his artistic projections. He admits that she has taught me better, which is a rare moment of humility from him.
It really is.
Now, what's truly interesting, almost ironically so, is Mr. Beebe's reaction to the broken engagement. The clergyman is secretly pleased.
Secretly.
Oh, yeah. His actions throughout the latter part of the novel are shaped by his deeply held, though largely unarticulated, belief that they that marry do well, but they that refrain do better. A personal resolution of virginity that he kind of extends as an ideal onto others.
Yeah.
He sees Lucy's broken engagement as an opportunity for her to embrace a purer, more spiritually focused path aligned with his own convictions.
And he doesn't just passively observe this, he actively becomes an adept at relieving situations. He deftly facilitates Lucy's desire to go to Greece.
Right, thinking he's helping her escape worldly temptation.
Exactly. He genuinely believes he is guiding her towards celibacy and moral purity, or at least a life less complicated by worldly passions. This powerfully demonstrates how even seemingly benevolent figures, acting with what they perceive as good intentions, can unconsciously impose their own deeply held views and biases on others' lives.
Without truly understanding or even seeking out the other person's actual desires, he's acting on his own pet theory about Miss Honeychurch, that her watertight compartments will break down and music and life will mingle, leading her to be heroically good, heroically bad, too heroic perhaps to be good or bad.
He wants her to break free, but only into the kind of freedom he envisions.
Precisely. But the most profound, soul-searching philosophical discussion, the real turning point for Lucy, occurs between her and old Mr. Emerson.
The final confrontation.
He sees through her fabricated reasons for breaking the engagement almost immediately. He recognizes her muddle for what it is. He presses her relentlessly, demanding honesty not just for his sake but for her own, because for him, a muddle is the worst possible state to be in.
Mr. Emerson articulates this horror of muddle with such powerful clarity. There's nothing worse than a muddle in all the world. It is easy to face death and fate. It is on my muddles that I look back with horror.
Wow.
He pushes Lucy with relentless honesty to confront her own dishonesty, arguing that she has deceived them, her family and Cecil, but more importantly, she has deceived herself by denying her true love for George.
His abhorrence of muddle is this powerful, almost desperate plea for clarity and truth in one's life, a call to dismantle those watertight compartments of self-deception.
And in this deeply vulnerable moment, he reveals his own past muddle, how Mr. Eager's rigid emphasis on sin and moralistic dogma effectively murdered his wife in the sight of God.
Which is such a shocking way to put it.
It is. This isn't a literal murder, obviously, but a profound spiritual and emotional one because it tainted their natural innocent love and ultimately led to her going under, losing her spirit and joy.
This redefines murder as the suppression of natural affection, genuine feeling, and fundamental truth. A devastating philosophical statement on the destructive power of rigid dogma and moralism. He lays bare his own pain as a stark warning to Lucy.
He then delivers what is perhaps the most radical and liberating statement of the entire novel, a direct challenge to conventional notions of love and spirituality.
The big one.
Yeah. Passion does not blind. No. Passion is sanity. Love is of the body. The misery that would be saved if we confess that. For a little directness to liberate the soul.
It's a revolutionary call for honesty, self-acceptance, and living authentically, even if it means defying every single societal norm. It's a powerful argument for the integration of mind, body, and soul in love, directly counteracting the Victorian tendency to separate them, to intellectualize and sanitize human affection.
So faced with Mr. Emerson's relentless, unvarnished honesty, Lucy is terrified, utterly stripped bare. But she finally admits the truth that has been bubbling beneath the surface. You love George.
This is the shattering moment where her armor of falsehood, built up over years of societal conditioning, crumbles completely. She finally embraces her true feelings, however frightening and disruptive they may be. It's the moment of light she had previously avoided, fearing self-knowledge and the consequences of truth.
And yet, even after this admission, the weight of societal pressure is just immense. She confesses, I'm caught in the tangle. I must suffer and grow old away from him. I cannot break the whole of life for his sake. They trusted me.
You feel the weight of that, don't you? It encapsulates the immense societal pressure and the profound personal cost of choosing one's own truth over expected duty, family loyalty, and the comfort of the familiar. It speaks to the deep-seated fear of rejection and judgment from those closest to us, a fear that almost costs her her entire happiness.
But despite Mr. Beebe's dismay and judgmental reaction, it is lamentable, incredible. Lucy's final, pivotal decision is ultimately driven by Mr. Emerson's simple yet profound parting words. Truth counts. Truth does count.
And that's it. Her ultimate embrace of authenticity. A hard-won victory over the various fences, watertight compartments, and deceptions that have governed her life. Her journey is a powerful testament to the idea that self-discovery, while often painful and disruptive, is ultimately the most liberating and essential path to a truly fulfilled life.
The novel beautifully concludes with Lucy and George back in Florence, having returned to the Pension Bertolini, symbolically coming full circle to the place where their connection began.
Their absolute content is achieved precisely through acting the truth, even if it means temporary alienation from the Honeychurches, who were initially disgusted at her past hypocrisy and her choices.
Their future together is still marked by challenges. Cecil's lingering cynicism about women, Mr. Beebe's continued disapproval, the potential for social ostracization, but their foundation is now built on radical honesty and mutual understanding.
George's unwavering faith in the truth of their love and his belief that if we act the truth, the people who really love us are sure to come back to us in the long run is such a powerful message of hope and resilience.
It really is.
It suggests that genuine connection and authentic living can indeed withstand external pressures and even family disapproval, ultimately leading to deeper, more lasting bonds.
And then, the novel's final tantalizing revelation, George's profound insight into Miss Bartlett's unconscious complicity.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That may be far down in her mind, that we should be like this. She fought us on the surface, and yet she hoped for their happiness.
It adds another astonishing layer of complexity, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests that even the most conventional characters, the ones who outwardly uphold the most rigid social barriers, might harbor deeper, unacknowledged desires for authentic connection and happiness.
That maybe those rigid barriers might, in fact, secretly yearn for collapse.
It's a truly beautiful, almost subversive thought that Miss Bartlett, in her deep, unconscious self, might have wished for their love to triumph, even as her conscious mind fought against.
Which raises a truly provocative thought for you, our listener, to take away. How much of what we outwardly condemn or resist in others, how much of the unconventional freedom we see around us do we secretly yearn for in ourselves?
It suggests a universal human longing for passion and authenticity that sometimes, even in the most unexpected places and from the most unexpected people, secretly wishes for its own liberation. As Forster reminds us elsewhere, we must have ideas, or we shall be in a muddle.
What an incredible journey through the intricate dance between social conformity and individual passion, a story that resonates just as strongly, I think, in our modern lives, where the pressure to conform, to present a polished, curated image online, or to follow a prescribed path can be just as stifling as the Edwardian era's strict social codes.
Absolutely. A Room with a View reminds us that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply to be truly, honestly ourselves. Hashtag tag tag outro.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into E.M. Forster's A Room with a View. It's just a powerful testament to the enduring strength of literature to illuminate the timeless struggles of the human heart. And a vivid reminder that sometimes the greatest adventures happen not abroad, but deep within our own selves.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Artificially Literate. We sincerely hope this discussion has offered you some new perspectives and maybe encouraged you to look at your own world and the stories within it a little differently. Always seeking the truth that, well, truly counts.
You can find more of our deep dives into books, films, and big ideas by checking out our other episodes. And be sure to follow Artificially Literate on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube so you don't miss our next adventure. We're already anticipating our next literary journey, and we can't wait to share it with you.
Until then, remember, feed your brain, starve your inner fool.